Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 6ixhockey podcast. I'm your host, Elias Drakos, joined as always by the great Simon Hendricks and Sammy Brzezowski. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Not too much. I was at the Oasis concert the other day, which was pretty awesome. However, my girlfriend's bag got stolen.
Oh,
but other than that, to be fair, there was only like a pack of my condo keys were in there, so that sucks. But other than that, it was very fun. Hearing Don't Look Back in Anger live was awesome.
Yeah, I think he meant more like, just colloquially, like, how you doing? Didn't need your whole life story, but I bet it was pretty cool to hear that song.
So some stranger has your keys now, they can enter into your condo.
They could if they really wanted to. They also have some loose tissue papers and half a pack of XL gum as well.
See, that's the one that would bug me almost more because you had that pack in emergencies.
Now it's gone.
Yeah.
Now it's gone. But other than that, I'm doing fantastic.
Okay, so if you ever go out for food next time, I know stay away from you because you're not going to have good smelling breath. Okay, I got it. Today we're going to be power ranking the Canadian teams. And you guys have some vastly different lists. I went over them. I had to do a little supervision heading into this as the host. But why don't we dive right into it at number 7. We'll start with Sammy this time. Sammy, who do you have at number 7?
First off, I want to start off by saying this is probably the best Canadian hockey, like in terms of Canadian teams in the NHL, has been for a while. I don't think that we have, you could arguably say, a bottom 10 team being Canadian for one of the first times in a millennia.
Yeah, I would actually, I think we probably have the same number 7.
That one, 7 or 6, you could argue, are the ones that are cutting in. But 5 to 1, they're all I wouldn't say contenders, but they're all playoff probable teams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With that being said, at 7, I do have the Calgary Flames. Nothing about their roster in general really impresses me per se. I think a lot of people like them a little bit more than probably what my number 6 is going to be. Dustin Wolf looked good. I think that's a pretty shining spot in their organization. Probably a spot that they're going to try to build the team around. But really, they're not that good. But I think they are on the incline.
I don't know if they are on the incline. I think they do have some good pieces. You mentioned Dustin Wolf. He is an absolute stud. Probably only going to get better as he ages more in this league. One thing I think you really do have to take into consideration when talking about the Flames, though, is the fact that their number 1 defenseman, Rasmus Andersson, is going to get traded. Earlier today, I did read a report that Backlund, their captain, said that he thinks it's obvious that he's going to be traded. There also have been talks about Nazem Kadri perhaps being moved. Jonathan Huberdeau probably going to regress. I think he has been regressed for the past bunch of years, but I don't think he's going to get any better, unfortunately. I would like to see him get better. I'm rooting for him.
Can you imagine being Jonathan Huberdeau right now?
Oh,
you had it all going, and then they trade you and immediately the best team in a decade.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that sucks. But Calgary was also my 7th team, just to put that out there. I think they're the pretty clear 7th team. I don't think you could really make a good argument to put them anywhere other than 7. I just don't really like how their team is constructed. That's all I really have to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to it. They're the last place team.
Now, what about number 6, Sammy?
Number 6, I probably have the only other team that you could probably argue could have been 7, but when they have Quinn Hughes, the Vancouver Canucks are my 6th best Canadian team, and really, they re-signed Besser. They got rid of Miller, who is clearly a problem in the locker room. He's already a problem in any locker room. He complained about the group chat for the Team USA team.
Yeah.
He was he was actually mad about that, and clearly just not a guy that you want to be around your franchise. I think the Canucks, they stay healthy. If Quinn Hughes does Quinn Hughes stuff, which I'm sure he will, they're a fun team to watch. I said on a previous podcast that they were one of my choices for a team that could surprise us. And I agree with that, but I think the teams above the Vancouver Canucks right now in this draft listing are all teams that have solidified themselves as at least playoff caliber.
I would wholeheartedly agree. The Canucks are also my number 6 team. I think this team lives and dies on 2 things. Because I'm pretty sure that Quinn Hughes is, top 2, if not top 1 defenseman in the league.
He's top 2.
clearly top 2 to Sammy. He is a top 2 defenseman in the league. His play will not regress. You know what you're getting from him each night that he goes out there and plays. I think this team is really dependent on 2 things. One, can Elias Pettersson be the Elias Pettersson that we know him to be? And 2, can Thatcher Demko stay healthy and play like the Thatcher Demko that he was a couple years ago when he was just lights out?
So here's my thing with that. Demko, I think, is less of a question. I don't see Elias Pettersson getting back to what we thought Elias Pettersson could be. Like, Elias Pettersson at one point was like a guy that you thought would be like an all-star every year. Like, he was actually incredible. I think he just needs to be solid and reliable. Last year was a bit of a dumpster fire from him, I think, in his standards especially. But I think he can get back now that this team hopefully will have better chemistry. I really think it'll be a gelling thing, and I think if they all can connect, build up that chemistry, then he'll do just fine.
I would wholeheartedly agree. Just really quick, when you say solid and fine, I don't think they can afford to have him to be like a 60, 70-point guy. I think that team needs him to be like a point-per-player type of player and play a very good two-way game.
A point-per-player type of player, indeed.
Yeah, point-per-game type of player. My bad.
Now, I want to do something.
Sorry. Continue.
I want to do something a little different. I want you to say your picks 3, 4, and 5 all together, and then explain, and have almost a little bit of a debate style here, because I know you guys have vastly different opinions on these teams, and they're a little bit interchangeable. So I want to hear your opinions on both. Samuel, I'll start with you. Go in order: 3, 4, and 5, and your reasoning.
You want me to start with 3 and go down?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
So, in third place, hate myself for saying this, I have the Montreal Canadiens. In fourth place, I have the Winnipeg Jets. And in fifth place, I have the Ottawa Senators.
Whoa. Well,
you can say yours first.
Okay,
go ahead.
In third place, I have the Winnipeg Jets. In fourth place, I have the Ottawa Senators. And in fifth place, I have the Montreal Canadiens. Can I just say one quick little thing? I know that the Montreal Canadiens added Dobson, but we were off camera right before recording this, and Sammy was like dying on the hill that the Senators would have beat the Canadiens last year. I know they added Dobson, and a bunch of the players might progress, but I just want to let that be known.
I was dying on the hill that last year, because I think we're doing this year's power rankings, right?
We are, and
so it's not about last year.
It's not about last year.
Okay.
However, you don't think Jake Sanderson can progress as much? Like, I think that Jake Sanderson can progress to fill a void that Noah Dobson does.
I think so. Here's my thing with Jake Sanderson. They released the left-handed defenseman rankings.
Sure.
And he was in the top 10
for NHL ratings.
For NHL ratings, of course. And he was like an 89 overall or something ludicrous like that. I don't think he's been an 89 overall type of player. I think he can be. I think you're right. But this Habs team, I think, has more potential to grow than the Senators team. I think the Senators, with this current roster, let's say they don't add anyone new this season, can't get much higher than they already are. I think they went on a heater in the regular season, and they're a solid team, but I think their ceiling isn't as high as the Habs, and that's why I think the Habs will be better than them this season.
So I would agree with that. I don't think the ceiling is high. However, I don't think the floor is as low as the Canadiens' floor is. Because you could have Slafkovsky not do anything and still be like a 40, 50-point guy. You could have, I don't think this is going to happen, but you could see Cole Caulfield not getting 37 or 36 or 37 or whatever. You could see him maybe getting 30. You could see Nick Suzuki not having 90 points again. In fact, I don't think he's going to hit 90 points again.
Thank you, Simon. Shh. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I
don't want to hear that.
Nick Suzuki's a fantastic player. I think he'll be around the 70, 80-point mark for sure, but I don't think he's going to score more than a point per game this year. And unless you have Lane Hudson really take a step up, that D-core is one guy in Noah Dobson if you're talking about actual defensive play. So I think you are totally right in saying that the ceiling is higher. However, I think the floor is much lower on the Canadiens than the Senators is. Okay,
so I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying I disagree, but you just said like 5 ifs. Like, what if what if Brady Tkachuk tears his ACL in preseason?
Okay, well,
what are we doing? You just said if all these things happen, their floor will be lower.
Well, is that not what we're talking about?
Well, yeah. If Brady Tkachuk doesn't play amazingly, if Tim Stützle doesn't probably improve, if what's his face, Dylan Cousins, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
If Dylan Cousins doesn't probably improve as well, then they're not going to do better than what they did last season. And I think the Canadians will do either, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I hate the Habs. The Canadians will either do what they did last season or better, depending on their first round matchup.
If I may, I think I'm right in the middle of you two, where if I had to do this power rankings list, I would go Jets, Montreal, Ottawa. Because I think the Habs are better than Ottawa, but I think that the Jets are better than Montreal.
Yeah,
well, that's just my opinion.
I will say, okay, I can buy. I don't 100% agree. I can very well see the argument and buy the argument that the Canadians are better than the Senators. You have Montreal ahead of the Jets?
I do, and here's why I'm glad you brought this up. So, obviously, the Jets have the best regular season goaltender in the world in Connor Hellebuck. I was looking at the Jets roster before we were shaping this up. I think the Jets' performance this year is dependent on one guy, and it's Cole Perfetti. I love Cole Perfetti. Mm-hmm. I think he's a fantastic player. He got 50 points last season. I think it's very up to him. And when a team needs to have a player really step up, or else they're kind of stuff out of luck, I think that's a pretty dangerous precedent to set. Because they also lost Nikolai Ehlers, who
they did.
He was their third most in points, Ehlers, and one of their better defensive forwards, I think. I don't know. Every time I watched him, he was a factor. Mark Scheifele, I don't see getting higher than 87 points. That's what he got. Really, they only have Kyle Connor. Velarde, 60 points. I just think that when you have now 3 guys only getting over 20 goals, and you're losing Ehlers, after that playoff performance, I just think there's no point in putting them higher than expectations. I think that they kind of blew it, to be honest, and I think that they have the pieces, and I think on paper they are better than the Canadians, but I think that it's just something's not clicking there, something's not working, because it seems like every year we're like, this could be, the Jets are kind of good, and then they're not kind of good, and then they blow it.
Yeah, I mean, I do see your argument. I do. However, to me, what power rankings are is how good you think a team is on paper and how well do you think they're going to do. And I think that the Jets have a much better roster than the Canadians. They have a much deeper roster. They have much better defense. You forgot to mention Josh Morrissey is better than any single one of the defensemen on the Canadians. Connor Hellebuck's the best goalie in the world. Yeah, playoff struggles.
I disagree that he's the best goalie in the world. I think he's the best regular season goaltender in the world.
Okay, well, still, the best regular... Okay, that's okay. Best regular season goaltender in the world, that still counts for something. You got to make the playoffs before you win the cup.
Can I say, though, with, obviously...
Okay, sorry. Can I just say one really quick thing before you make your point?
Mm-hmm.
Gun to your head right now. Who has a higher chance of winning the Stanley Cup this year? The Winnipeg Jets or the Montreal Canadiens? No way,
I
dude.
honestly think
that's insane. That's insane.
Wow.
That's insane. I know, Lass, you're not going to disagree with that. That is blasphemous.
So Sam Montembeault, no L in front of his name. Sam Montembeault, he gets injured. Let's think about that for a second. He gets injured. Who's Montreal's second goalie right now?
Jakob Dobeš. No, Primo's not on the team anymore. It's Jakob Dobeš now.
Okay.
Who? No, I'm kidding.
Montreal's at this.
Are you
kidding about this because you talked about Hellebuck being the best goalie in the world. Your words. Best goalie in the world.
Top
I just think
NHL ratings
if
list.
A team, that's kind of insane. A team loses their goalie and would just can you imagine if Eric Comrie had to take the pipes for the Winnipeg Jets? Mm-hmm. They'd be destroyed. If you put in Elias Drakos in for the Montreal Canadiens, it's not going to make as big of a wave as if you take the switch for the Jets. Montreal's already not getting great goaltending. Montembeault's okay. They're already not getting great goaltending, and clearly
I disagree.
I disagree too.
They're not getting good defense.
The goaltending has been actually really solid.
I was going to say, Montembeault's actually pretty
decent.
They're
not getting
Their
good defense. They
awful.
just addressed a number one D-man who's going to share the most
bad.
minutes that night. And then obviously Lane Hudson wasn't great defensively in his rookie season. It was also his rookie season.
That's very fair, but I still...
And they signed that guy that everyone's freaking out about over there. What's his face? Demidov. That apparently is Jesus Christ.
Demigod. Anyway.
Again, Sammy, I understand what you're saying. I think it is blasphemous to think that a team like Winnipeg Jets, who still have players like, yes, they lost Nikolai Ehlers, and you want to talk about the if game, if Connor Hellebuyck gets injured, that's like the biggest if ever. He has not been hurt in the regular season for a set amount of time in like 6 or 7 years. Like, that just doesn't happen to him.
I'm just saying, you said the word depth, right? And I just think if the depth factor makes that much of a difference, and let's talk about when you actually have to use depth.
Okay, well, defensive depth. You have Mike Matheson as your third best defenseman. Really? Like Neil Pionk and
I wouldn't
Josh
call
Morrissey?
Mike Matheson. First of all, don't say "your" when you're ever referring to him. I don't even know how I got on this hill, but just give me a moment. I need to look up the roster for a second because I actually.
If I may, while you're looking up the roster, you said I wouldn't disagree with because you posed the question to Sammy. Gun to your head, Habs or Jets winning the cup.
Yeah.
I'd pick the Jets. I have the Jets over Montreal. You said you're not going to disagree. I do disagree, actually, and I would pick Winnipeg over Montreal for next season. Going forward, we'll see.
I was going to say, going forward, like, give it 5 years, 1,000%.
Yeah, exactly. But I still, I agree. I still think Winnipeg is a better team, like I mentioned, and the Habs are just kind of middle, I think, in that 4 spot.
Yeah.
So,
I do think, okay, so I've pulled up the Montreal roster. Matheson was only the third best defenseman. It was because he was getting that time. Because they're not going to have Hudson as... Can you let me finish? Because Matheson was getting that time because they didn't have Dobson. Dobson's going to be the most played defenseman alongside Hudson. Carrier if you want to, is going to be solid.
Yes.
Caden Gooley, he's going to take a step up. I think
Caden
everyone
Gooley,
knows
that's right.
that he's going to take a step up.
Yeah.
I also totally forgot that Doc got injured, and that was like a big deal for the Habs. Doc is pretty solid. I have a bunch of Habs fans. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm surrounding myself with them because they just make me angry. But Kirby Doc was like a big piece for them that I think is comparable to some of the depth on the Jets. I think Scheifele is just about done. I think. Okay, you can make the argument that that the Jets are better than the Habs right now. I'm not going to say that it's definitive. I just think that the Habs might take this jump faster than we think they're going to.
It's a good point.
Okay, fair point. I still come back to the argument of if you had to pick 2 to win the Cup, you really pick the Canadians. I think that is just a bad take.
I just think that Hellebuyck has been so bad in the playoffs.
Agree to disagree kind of thing.
Yeah, agree to disagree.
I think if you think the Habs are worse than the Sens, that's where you lose me. But Jets, I'll rescind that.
Okay.
All right.
Why don't we move on now to our top 2? There's going to be a number 1 and a number 2. So, Sammy, who is your number 1 team? And then you can give your number 2 because that's the only team left. So go ahead.
At number 1. I have the Edmonton Oilers at number 1. They've made the finals the past 2 years. They're also the Edmonton Oilers. If your team has the best player in the world on it, and then also has the guy who's probably top 5, I'd say top 5 is probably at least a safe pick for Leon Draisaitl, you're going to be at the number 1 in my rankings. You also made the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row. They got very close in year number 1. And as much as I don't think potentially that they make the finals again this year, they've already done it. If they just keep doing what they're doing, they're better than the Leafs have ever done. So I think it's a no-brainer pick that they're number 1.
Okay. Simon.
It's really tough.
No, it's not.
Because I actually have written down that the Leafs are number 1 because I made this list kind of quickly. I really want to pick the Leafs as number 1, but I think it is very hard to argue that Edmonton is not number 1. I don't think it's a no-brainer, though. That is where I do disagree with you a little bit. Because, yes, you do. Of course, you have McDavid and Draisaitl unbelievable. But you have Zach Hyman, who did regress a little bit last year. If he regresses again, who knows? Like, he might be a little bit of a question mark. I don't think he will be, but the ifs game is coming back. I think it's interesting to say, but especially given the Leafs offseason and with Marner leaving and everything, I think from a consistency perspective and how like actually well they're going to play on the ice game in and game out, the Edmonton Oilers do have a bit more of a question mark than the Leafs do this year. Obviously, you know what you're going to get from McDavid and Draisaitl. But again, they lost to Vander Kane, who did miss a lot of last year for sure, but they weren't as good in the regular season last year. And then you also have a guy like Trent Frederick, who is maybe your fourth line setter. You have a guy like Adam Henrique.
Can I ask a question, though? You talk about the regular season. Obviously, for power rankings, they are a factor, but do they really matter, the regular season? Like, if you're a playoff team, you're a playoff team. Like, the Montreal Canadians, see, they're so ingrained in my brain, Elias. You've ruined my whole system.
I apologize, Sammy.
Yeah, you're right. You should. The Florida Panthers only had one more point than the Ottawa Senators this season. And then the Florida Panthers did what they do, and they go up. And we've seen it from other teams. We've seen it from teams like the Vegas Golden Knights when they're like, whatever, we don't care. Just make the playoffs, and we'll get going.
So yes, you are right. It does kick into consideration. If you would have let me finish my entire point, I was going to eventually get to
Sorry, I didn't have half an hour to...
Yeah, no worries. I'll save you some time. I'll jump to the end really quickly. But the point I was going to make was in another podcast we did, we said that both of us predict that the Florida Panthers are going to come out of the Eastern Conference to make the Stanley Cup final. Both of us also said that the Edmonton Oilers were not going to. I believe I picked Vegas and you picked Dallas. So I think that, again, I don't think that the Edmonton Oilers are going to go back to the finals with the team. And also, like, them and Florida have played the most games the past 2 years. Like, that's just a given, right? I don't think they're going to be, I don't know how much the fatigue factor is going to hit them. But I think that is something to take into a bit of consideration. We all know the Leafs definitely haven't played the most games in the NHL in a while.
They generally play 7 or 14 extra every year. But actually, going back to your point, the one thing I will say about the Leafs is that, like you said, there's less questionability. I don't even know if that's a word, but if it is, I like it. Say Connor McDavid, knock on wood, tears his ACL.
That is like their entire season.
That's it.
I would even say, like, if Leon Draisaitl goes out for 2 months, like, that's going to be 2 months that they're like a 500 team.
They just have Connor McDavid. If one of them but Connor McDavid if he's taken out for, let's say, like 15 games, let's say, that is like detrimental to their season. Because I'll be honest, Draisaitl, I've always had it out for him in the past. He's a fantastic player. We haven't seen him truly without McDavid. Can you imagine playing 20 games without McDavid, what it would do to Draisaitl? Now, for the Leafs, Matthews get injured.
The Leafs play better without Matthews. It's crazy. Last year, they had an almost perfect record when Matthews was not almost perfect, but they had a really good record.
He's the problem. No. But Matthews gets injured. You still have Nylander, Tavares. You still have Nyes. And then vice versa in any other of those situations. Their number one goalie gets injured. Let's say it's Stolarz right now. You still got Joey Wall and vice versa. One of their D-men get injured. We throw in somebody from the Marlies. There's no number one D-man on the Toronto Maple Leafs, which it would be nice for once to have a guy that's like reliable as a number one D-man, but can't be that good. So I will say, if that was the basis of why you picked that, I don't disagree with that. I just think you can't ignore history.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I kind of switched up last minute to pick Edmonton number 1 and have the Toronto Maple Leafs as number 2. Our Toronto Maple Leafs is number 2.
Well, according to you, it's my Montreal Canadiens.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say.
Sick to my stomach.
The basis for my argument was kind of, you know that the Leafs are gonna go out and like I'm kind of expecting them to be right around the like 100, 105 point mark. And, like, I'm pretty sure, like, you can kind of bank that in no matter what. I shouldn't say no matter what, but you can kind of bank on that. And like you said, a bad injury for Edmonton, their season could be done.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I mean, obviously, you're never wishing an injury upon someone, and you never want that to be in the back of your head. But it's true. Like, people always talk about, like, oh, this team only won because so-and-so was injured. If you can't handle so-and-so being injured, you're not a well-built team. And I think the Oilers have been riding on Devo and Draisaitl forever, and clearly it works. Like, obviously, they're incredible, but what happens when they fall, you know?
Yeah.
Even if
What
Draisaitl
happens when
just
they
puts
fall?
up stinkers, like he just plays really poorly. Like we
Well,
saw,
I don't think that's going to happen.
we
but-
saw McDavid not do McDavid things during the playoffs, and at those points it was a struggle.
Yeah.
They were like,
Yeah.
like what are we gonna do? Mm-hmm. We got to get Simon Hendricks to fill in
To fill in on the-
like,
yeah.
like
Oof.
whereas the Leafs, a lot more depth, and we saw a good amount of depth scoring throughout the season. And obviously for the Leafs, you need to see a couple guys take a step up. Probably McMahon needs to be a higher role. Domi has to be like good, like not be garbage. And then Nyes, you're part of that core now. So Nyes also has to step up. So there's a lot of ifs on both sides, but I think you're right to say that there's less ifs for the Leafs.
And now I'm just gonna say this. Yeah, Matthias Maccelli, whatever his name is, he could be really good. However, I really think that Nicholas Waugh is going to be phenomenal for the Leafs this
He
year.
was a good pickup. Yeah.
I
definitely.
think he is going to be a very quick fan favorite for the Leafs team. He was very good in Vegas, and
Just like Sean Dursey is a very good
okay,
defenseman.
let's pipe it with that.
I can't believe you said that.
Anyways,
Nicholas Waugh is going to be a phenomenal Maple Leaf.
I think he'll be better than Sean Dursey, even though obviously he's a forward.
I think he's going to be better than Marner.
So we're now saying in the NHL that 11 points
all right.
is very
All
good.
right, I didn't look at his stats. I don't study
listen,
Sean Dursey's stats.
thank you, gentlemen. That's all the time we have for today. I wish I could continue this debate. I really do. Well, no, I don't. But anyways, you guys, thanks for joining us. Sammy's probably going to unfriend me because I'm a Habs fan after the episode, but that's okay. We'll see what happens. From Samuel Brzezowski and Simon Hendricks, I've been your host, Elias Drakos. Thanks for watching. Ciao for now.